In this tutorial we are going to learn how to change the durations of the scenes. Also we learn about scene settings. Let's see what we get so far. Open the main composition. Intro animation starts from the start point. When the timeline cursor reaches to the intro ends point, intro animation ends and the satellite animation reveals. Then the first zoom in starts, the camera moves throughout clouds and reaches to the first destination. Now our first scene rotates slowly until the timeline cursor reaches to the zoom out 01 point. Then the first zoom out animation starts and goes on to the space level. Then second zoom in animation starts. And it continues like that. The outro animation starts after the zoom out 10 point, but we have 3 scenes. I'm going to show you how to set this up. Open Settings folder and double click on the General Settings composition. You will see an interface window that guides us visually and written. Select General Settings layer. If you turn on Preview Mode feature, all effects in the project will be disabled to reduce rendering time. You can use this feature adjusting timing and working on the elements. Optimize Scenes feature is turned off by default. It disables some of the minor effects to reduce the final rendering time. This is the feature that we are looking for. You can set total scenes to 3. Let's go back to the main composition and let's see if it works. Also we have a close settings over here. We can add 2 type close to the scenes. We are going to learn about them in a minute, but let me explain how to change settings of them. If you move the timeline cursor, you'll see they are animated. So you can change this animation using these controls. You can change the directions or speeds and also the distance of the close shadow. If you turn on Optimize Scene settings to reduce rendering time, you realize the close animation will be disabled. Now let's go and have a look Scene settings. Open the Scene settings folder and double click on the Scene 01 settings. You'll see some information text over here. In order to get edit them, select the zooming settings layer. You can change the zoom in level using this slider. Let's see. Now we'll zoom in at this level. It's very easy to use, isn't it? Let's move the scene settings back and set it to 7. You can change zoom in duration between 4 and 10 seconds. I think I'll need much more space here. I'm going to move the layer a bit farther. Drag the start point to the beginning. Extend the layer. Move the intro ends points to around 12 seconds. Let's see, now we have really slow zoom in animation. Let's set it to 4. You can change the duration of the zoom out animation as well. Now select the rotation settings layer. You can change zoom in rotation. Now the camera turns 159 degrees clockwise during the zoom in. If you leave the zoom out rotation value as 0, camera rotates counterclockwise during the zoom out. If you set it to 350 degrees, you'll realize that camera turns clockwise. If you don't want any rotation during zoom in and zoom out, keep this setting 0, both of them. We have the continuous rotation here. After the zoom in, the scenes rotate slowly. You can change the speed and direction of it. Let's move to the visual settings. As I mentioned before, we've got two types of clouds. If you turn on circle clouds, it will be added to the scene. Or you can change the cloud type to simple clouds. Also, we have a lens flare animation. It must be somewhere here. Here it is. If you turn off the lens flare feature, it will be disabled for this scene. And also you can turn on and turn off the camera shake. You can enable or disable the camera lens distortion. All these visual features will increase rendering time, just keep it in mind. Let's adjust settings for the other scenes. Other scene settings have an extra option that's called pause before zoom in. The globe animation will be held for that time before starting zoom in. If you need extra time before zoom in, you can use this feature. I'm going to set it to 0 now. Let me set settings quickly for the second scene. I'll set the zoom in rotation to 180 degrees and zoom out rotation to 360 degrees. I'm going to add a circle cloud. Let's open Scene 03 settings. Set the zoom in level to 8 and leave the rest. Change the zoom in rotation to 90, maybe a little bit more. There is nothing to change here. Let's move the main composition and adjust the zoom out duration. Set the timeline around 30 seconds and 20 frames and move the zoom out 01 point. Move the second point to about 44 seconds. Move the third point around 59 seconds.